Alrighty, it is a minute before, and on Fridays that means we need a minute to get all the things the way they're supposed to be so that we are live, clear, and presentable to the viewing audience. If you are listening to me live on Free Conference Call HD, shoot me a text so I can make sure you can hear me. If you are watching, appreciate you guys engaging and watching today. Just give me a second to turn all the settings the way they're supposed to be so I'm not just talking to myself. Already, 9 o'clock on the dot. And today we're going to talk about not just how to close this year strong, but also how to make sure that you are setting yourself up for next year. It's crucial, it's important, and it's something that we preach about on a regular basis, that how you close this year is exactly how next year is going to begin for you. And the ironic part about this industry, the ironic part about self-employment is that most people close the year in the most anticlimactic manner possible. It's kind of sad, really. Like, they start with goals, they get out in the field, they catch up for lost time, they have an exciting AEP, they make money that builds their back end income, and then that's it. It like peters away into that anticlimactic conclusion, and then they got to start that same cycle all over again. I mean, have you ever seen that movie before where you download it, maybe you even buy it on Apple TV, you plan to watch it on an airplane trip or a long car ride or some quiet time at home, and you're excited. You're like, I spent $20 on this movie. Let's go. And you sit down and you watch it. And by the end of the movie, you say to yourself, that's it. Like that's really it, right? Like, that's the end of the movie that I paid all this money and gave an hour and a half of my life for. Happens, right? I can name plenty of those movies. I'll share some with you so you don't have to watch them the same way. But in many cases, that's what happens to agents this time of the year. And I appreciate that you're on, you're watching, and you're engaged, and you're trying not to be that person. Because who wants to put in all that time? Who wants to put in all that effort? Who wants to spend all that money and emotional capital only to watch the year come to an anticlimactic conclusion? I sure don't. So good morning. Welcome into another Dynamic Friday together. And today, as I said, we're going to reflect on goal setting, which is really more, to me, growth setting. It's an interesting transitional point, right? Goal setting. You hear it so often, almost the word doesn't resonate with you. Goal setting is really, in many cases, growth setting. And as we look to wrap up this year strong and set ourselves up to carry that directly into January, it's important that we don't get too far ahead of ourselves. If you're watching right now, I have one favor to ask of you: to engage with us on social media. If you're listening on Free Conference Call HD, I appreciate that as well. But if you're watching today, tomorrow, or in some time in the future, drop a comment. Let us know where you are or what you're watching from. Let us know what you like hearing about so we can make sure to continue that information as well. So if you're watching anywhere today, tomorrow, or in the future across social media, engage with the content. We would greatly appreciate it. Hit that like button, share the information out, comment below so other agents in the industry can get the same kind of help that you receive on a daily basis. I don't know if you guys appreciate or notice or know, but it happens. It works and it helps people. We had an agent reach out yesterday from Texas. Got started in the business about a month ago. Got started with a captive company, writing business over the phone, making decent money. But they saw our content. They saw the podcast. They listened to the conversation. They engaged in something that you take part in every day, and they're interested in coming to work with us. How do they find out about us? Well, it requires you to engage with the content, so it's shared with people that aren't in our little insurance bubble. So appreciate you on that one. Plus, you're going to want to make sure that you're subscribed to our YouTube channel or engaged with us on Facebook, because over the course of the next 10 days or so, Adam and I are going to work overtime to produce, to record, and to create probably the best Christmas gift I've ever sent out. Now, I am sending out Christmas cards when they come in. Don't worry, you'll get them maybe in January, maybe in December. But I'm working on a far more valuable Christmas gift than a Target gift card and a tangible card. We're going to be recording and posting throughout the course of Christmas break podcasts and training content with top producers, agency owners, and individuals throughout the industry that know what the heck they're talking about. There's so much content out there that just simply crap. And we're going to take a significant portion of the next week and record content, schedule it, and post it so that even though we're not always here on a daily basis like we typically are, throughout the course of Christmas break, there is going to be pre-recorded content available for you to watch. So if you're in the field on the 26th, there's going to be an episode that plays on the 26th that you can listen into on the way into the field. If you're out on the 1st, the 2nd, the 27th, you get the point. We're going to take a lot of time the next week, put together content that you can listen to, that you can engage with, that you can be a part of as you continue throughout the course of Christmas break. We have 2 integrity partners confirmed to join us for interviews and conversations and the kind of content that is really beneficial to you. I mean, these are the kind of people that have been at the kitchen table, have been on the call, and have moved from the kitchen table to the private equity table, that have sold final expense and have sold their agencies. So they know what they're talking about. We've got some regular solid producers as well. You're going to want to make sure that you have access to the YouTube channel, that you watch us on Facebook, that you are keyed in, that even though Free Conference Call HD may not be running on some of the days at the end of the year, we'll have something to share with you as well. Remember, our last call of the year will be December the 23rd, day before Christmas, our last call of the year, my favorite call of the year. So make a mental note that we will still be on live for that portion of time. So let's talk about goal setting. Let's stop talking about commenting on social media and let's get practical, right? Let's talk about goal setting, but in really a different way of looking at it. I want to talk about it as a growth setting perspective. Like I said in the open, goal setting, that word itself becomes mute in so many cases because you hear it so many times. We're going to talk about growth setting, and maybe you can reframe the way you look at it. So why do so many people set New Year's resolutions and fail to follow through with them within a week's time? Why do so many people in America and in our industry and in our insurance bubble find themselves in the exact same spot they were in 1 year after the next? It's kind of tragic, right? But why is that? It's that their goal setting, their growth setting never really happened. Plain and simple. You can't deposit a goal into your bank account, but you can grow your business that grows your production and grows your distribution and grows your bank account. You see the transition there between a goal and a growth moment in your business? You can't wear a goal out to dinner, but you can go out to a nice dinner if you said to yourself, I'm going to grow this business and grow my income. You can't assure your family with the fine words of, I'm going to set a goal and we're going to make it happen, especially if you said that before and nothing happened. But you can make extra effort to grow your business, grow your income, grow your bank account, grow your book of business by reframing the idea of goals into growth. But how do I grow my business? How do I grow and improve my personal health? How do I grow and improve my wellness and engagement with my friends and family? Well, let's look at it another way. Why do so many New Year's resolutions go unfulfilled and never result in anything but that same person being in that same position a year later? It's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable, but as long as you're living in an ethically appropriate place in that uncomfortable area, that's where you belong. If you're doing something illegal and it's uncomfortable, stop. You're going to get caught. You're going to lose your license. You're going to find your way out of the industry like we've all witnessed recently. Stop. But if that ethical spot that you're sitting in is uncomfortable, that means you're in an opportunity for you to grow and improve your business. I saw a post on social media recently from an agent who said, I want to be one of those people that's making multiple 6 figures in this industry. Is it possible? How do I do it? Does anybody else do it? And if you saw my comment, I commented below, realistically, only about 1% of the industry gets even close to that position. The sad reality is that 99% of insurance agents aren't making close to that and aren't willing to make close to that because they're not willing to grow. So why do they refuse to grow? Maybe it's not a willful decision that they're making. Maybe it's unintentional or subconscious, but there is a refusal to get from where they're at to where they're trying to go and be intentional in that process. Let me give you a kind of more granular, simple concept of me attempting to grow and in turn helping everybody engaged in this content, in this agency, and in this industry grow. I have been working diligently to try to better understand Go High Level. Heck, we're going to have our own Go High Level in the coming weeks and months ahead. I have no idea what I'm doing 99% of the time. I can tell you I've bought and canceled several versions of the same Go High Level. It's complicated. It's confusing. I don't have the attention span in many cases, but I am going to force myself through this uncomfortable moment to understand the technology and the terminology necessary to move into the modern era of lead generation, marketing, and organizing your book of business. It was Wednesday. I'm trying to figure out how to get leads to go from here to there, for the automation to do this and that to happen. And none of the words even made sense to me. So I reached out to one of our friends in the agency, Don Wilson, and I said, I don't even know what this word means. And help me, walk me through the process. What buttons do I push? How does this work? Because I refuse to live in the past in marketing. Now, I remember the day, and I mean this in all the good ways possible. I remember the day where I could send 20 direct mail leads that cost $28 to my appointment setter, who was really good at what she did, and she could set 60% of them into appointments. Those 20 leads could fill up 2, 3, and 4 days. That's not this industry anymore. I remember watching the cost of marketing increase, the response rates over the phone decrease, and watching it continue to happen month after week after year. It's uncomfortable to grow, and it's uncomfortable to do it in such a core aspect of our business, but understanding the technology and the terminology and being willing to ask somebody for help is uncomfortable, but it leads to growth. So why else do people refuse to grow? Maybe intentionally, unintentionally, subconsciously, something happens. Well, here's the other part of it. They get really, really close to it taking place and they stop. I see it all the time. I've seen it so many times before. It's infuriating where somebody commits to a growth aspect of their business. They spend the money, they spend the time, they burn the emotional capital, and they get so close. And then they pull the plug. Well, I'm like, you were like 3 weeks away from making a change. You're just not there. You gave up. That's why they didn't grow. You know, it's like you water a plant that you bought for the summer, for 3 weeks of the summer, and then you let it go. It's going to die, plain and simple. Okay, here's another reason people are in the exact same position they were a year ago and the next year and the year after that. They figure out the business because the business ain't that complicated. You know, the day-to-day conversational aspect of what we do, very simple. It gets easy to them and they stop trying to do any better. Well, of course you're not going to grow if you're not trying to do anything better. Well, what the heck? Here's another one. It gets really hard, like harder than they've ever imagined before. And they can't even see that they're getting close to where they're trying to go and they give up. Don't be that person. I can't think of any specific person that's here today that could be that person, but I know of plenty of them over the past. They get close and they stop. It gets easy and they give up trying to get better. It gets harder than they ever thought it could be. And that's the moment they decide that was good enough to give up on. Don't be that person. So let's get practical. How do we kind of make sure that we go from in our head to in the field or on the phone? Plain and simple. Number one, invest or reinvest, either emotionally, financially, or physically to yourself, to your family, to your business. Invest or reinvest. Maybe, like many of us here today, in a couple days, in a week or so, you're going to need to take some time to unplug. Nothing wrong with that. Maybe you've kind of reached a moment where you've put so much time and so much effort into your business that you almost feel like you burned out. Maybe you feel like you're close to it. Maybe you feel like this isn't fun anymore. And you know that you need a little bit of time to unplug and recharge and return to work. Nothing wrong with that. But you need to make sure that you have this key in mind if that is you, that you need to invest or reinvest once you re-engage with your business come the 31st, the 1st, the 2nd, whatever. Half-hearted investments will continue to yield half-hearted returns in your business. It's sad. And if you only have one life to live and only one business to create, and you want to have more than just the job you could have had before, stop giving a half-hearted effort to it. When you find something that works, double down, triple down, and keep going. I can tell you that going into 2025, my mindset I have for my business and our agency is all in. And as bumper sticker phrase as that sounds, this is what it really means. It's every dollar, it's every hour, it's every relationship, and it's every opportunity to the freaking max. Like maybe somebody watching needs to hear that. Maybe somebody watching or listening needs to do the exact same thing. Say to themselves that over the course of 2025, I'm going to go freaking all in. Like whatever I have left in my account, in my emotional bank account, in my physical ability, I'm just going to give it all. And maybe It's going to work out and you'll finally be able to say, well, there, I'm finally at where I wanted to be. Let's find that next level. And if you go all in and it didn't work out, well, at least you can say that you tried, right? Next, practical tip when it comes to getting from where you are to where you were to where you are to somewhere different. What went wrong over the course of the year? Like, I think what's crazy about finding out what went wrong over the course of a year is you got to ask somebody else about it. And that's uncomfortable, right? Well, if it's uncomfortable, that's where you're going to grow. What did I do right this year? What did I do wrong? What's something that you watched that I did that maybe I can do better? Adam shared with us yesterday the fact that last Thanksgiving, he took a significant portion of time off leading into Thanksgiving. He hit a cold streak coming out of Thanksgiving, and it created a real momentum killer to his business. And he's looking to avoid doing that exact same thing again. So when you figure out what went wrong, don't be afraid to utilize friendships, mentorships, and partnerships to evaluate ways to do your business better. And then lastly, before we transition over to Adam's thoughts on today's conversation and maybe a few tips and tricks from his day and his week in the field, you got to be intentional. You have to try to do better. You have to think and be better. You have to think bigger, work harder, save more, spend less than you make, all the things. You have to be intentional, or guess what? Nothing good or big or profitable or successful happens on accident. It just doesn't. And in the process of being intentional, you cannot forget to be patient. Real success, real stability, real quality growth, and real quality businesses, relationships, partnerships, families, marriages, businesses, meals take patience. Real growth doesn't happen quick. And when you watch real growth happen quick out there, especially in the social media echo chamber, be careful. Real growth doesn't happen overnight. And intentionality to get where you're trying to go does take time, but you'll get there if you refuse to give up. So, Adam, that's what I have to share so far this morning. I know we've got another 10 minutes of exclusive information to share on Free Conference Call HD before we take the rest of the conversation live across social media. But are you excited? At 11 o'clock this morning, we're pre-recording an interview with one of my favorite industry leaders, an integrity partner that is not only a good person, but a good leader, a good business owner, and has gone from the kitchen table to the private equity table. We're recording that at 11 o'clock. How exciting does that sound?
Yeah, very exciting. I think, me and you, we share so much content, but like I mentioned to you, maybe like a week or two ago, I think we need to bring more people like that on to our podcast to help. Yeah, we know what we're doing, but I think it's good to interview other people as well that have been successful, that kind of have different, maybe come from different backgrounds that have also been successful. And yeah, and I think more and more people will learn about what we're doing too through providing additional content through other people.
Absolutely. So you guys stay tuned. A best gift I could share besides a Christmas card and a Target gift card is all this content that we're going to put together, that we're going to save, we're going to schedule, and it's going to be posted in the days we're not on Free Conference Call HD during Christmas, but you still want to stay engaged in the business and your routines. So Adam, what thoughts do you have to share about today's main topic or your week that we can share with our group the next 8 to 10 minutes?
I can go through my week real quick because
Perfect.
I put up a decent amount of premium, but I don't know. I don't know. It was just kind of an off week. It was just kind of weird. I even went out on Monday, and I usually don't even go out on Monday. So, I was out 4 days in a row. And honestly, I think if anything, I just need to buy more leads. Uh, I know I bought some leads at the end of last week and just didn't really have a whole lot of success with them yet. Our appointment setters really haven't had a whole lot of success setting up appointments on them either. I think this time of year too, I think door knocking is going to be essential because people just, it's a lot easier to blow somebody off over the phone. And it's going to be much more difficult to get appointments set. But if you're door knocking and you're already there, it'll be a little bit easier to get in and still be able to do some business, even though we are closing in on less than 2 weeks before Christmas.
Yeah,
So, you-
I door knocked a few hours of my field time this week as well. I talked about being strategic. If you're in an area or a building, you have leads in from before. Why aren't you going to them? And it's as easy as going from the first floor to the fifth floor to the third floor, putting those leads together and just going to see them. And I don't know about you, but when I get into the door and I turn that door knock into an application, that's the biggest confidence boost I still ever find in this business.
oh yeah, most definitely. And again, I think so much of it is just mindset. It's. I talk so much about how you just have to keep going, and I think especially with door knocking, you can't knock on a door one time and the person's not home and just have put bad thoughts in your head like I bet they were there, but they just weren't coming to the door. Treat it as though they just weren't home, even if they were and just weren't coming to the door, because if anything, trial and error, even if they were home, the more you keep showing up, sooner or later, they're going to be like, who the heck is this guy? Why does he keep coming by? Maybe we should just answer the door. Kind of
Yeah.
similar to like our appointment setters, where they just constantly call and call and call, and people are looking at the phone number and not answering, and then finally deciding to. So it's kind of the
Yeah.
same thing out in the field. You just got to keep trying, trial and error, morning, evening, Saturdays, even if you have to. Um, but yeah, this time
I
of
had
year, I think the door
It's
knocking is
tough.
going to be very important.
I had two people this week who pretended not to be themselves at the door. I forget if it was an appointment or a door knock or whatever brought me to that position. It was off of a lead. But have you ever had that happen where you knock on the door and I'm like, hey, I'm looking for Adam, and somebody pretends not to be themselves?
It's really weird, but yeah,
It is. I'm like, bro, I know it's you. Like, what are you
it
doing?
happens. Oh yeah, yeah. They act as though it's not them. Oh yeah, no, that's my sister. She's not here. You'll have to try back. I don't know. It's kind of that's a tough one. That's a tough
Yeah.
one to try to figure out exactly what to do, because you don't want to be too like, no, I think this is actually you. Like that's not going to get you anywhere. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a
Well,
tough one.
I just always act like it's them. And when they pretend not to be themselves, it's then they look a little weird because they know they are themselves at that moment in time. Or they try to say that they're not there, but I can hear that they're there. Like I laugh it off sometimes because I know what you were saying, where you feel like you knock on the door and someone's there, but they're not coming to the door. And it can really cause some negative mindset about that interaction. But in the end, if you just keep going, like you were saying a moment ago, you'll find the people that have the conversations. And this time of year, agents just stop going, and no wonder they don't get in front of people. And no wonder they don't cash flow their business. And no wonder come March, they're exactly where they were in October. It's like this vicious circle that they just stopped going.
Well, I'll work with agents and, even a couple guys earlier in the year where they were primarily just door knocking. And, when they first started, they were putting up some decent numbers. They were out there hitting it hard. And I think honestly, I think they just got worn out from doing it. They maybe were not able to handle all the rejection and that happens. But I mean, one of the guys, I mean, I remember we met up and I'm like, let me see your iPad, because we keep our leads on our iPad. And so I'm looking at all of his leads on his iPad, and there's like very little notes, like maybe not home at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And this is like a lead that is probably within the last week or two. And you see like one little note, like, well, that's why you're failing, because you knocked on that door one time and you never
Oof.
went back. Like you can't knock on a door, the person's not home, and be like, oh man, this lead sucks. I mean, that'd be like if you just called the person one time and they didn't answer, and you're like, oh well, I guess they don't want it then. uh Same thing, you have to keep going, and like I said, it's trial and error. It's just how many contacts are you going to attempt uh to get in front of that person, and persistence.
Yeah, persistency is such a critical part of what we do. We had a little dropout on the audio there for a minute. Maybe it's me, maybe it's him. Hopefully, it's not the both of us. Let's do this for a second. If you aren't being persistent in your business, for those of you dialed in on Free Conference Call HD, figure out why that is. Is it a why issue? Is it an engagement issue? Is it an activity issue? Ask yourself those questions. You're never going to grow. You're never going to get past the point of uncomfortable to profitable if you're not willing to do a little bit of self-assessment about your business, I see that I'm live over there, so I know that the audio is good. If you're not willing to ask yourself the uncomfortable question, why am I here? I think it's kind of like when you find that breaking point or you find that rock bottom moment in life or in business. How did I get here? Why am I here? And what am I going to do better? And remember, even if you find yourself in these uncomfortable rock bottom moments in life or in business, this business that you're in right now is incredibly simple. I'm going to wrap up Free Conference Call HD in a minute, but I want to wrap up by telling you that it's that simple. Get in the door or on the phone. Keep them on the phone or keep yourself in the home. Get them to like you. Get them to trust you. Figure out what the problem is that they have or find a problem. Create the solution. Present it in a very easy to digest manner and write the freaking business. Assume the sale. So many times I wrote half of an application and they shut me down. But I'm going to assume my way into that moment because if you didn't, they're not going to say to you, go ahead and sign me up for that policy. Let me go get my social security number, my driver's license, and my bank account information for you. They're not going to do that. So don't be afraid to remind yourself in this moment as we move into the second half of today's conversation how simple this business is if you decide to go out and do it. And if you don't, you're in this position because you chose to be. We're here to support you, and we are transitioning live to exclusively StreamYard, YouTube, and social media. If you're on Free Conference Call HD, thanks for being here, and enjoy the rest of the day in the field. So, Adam, tell me about your week. You had you said you could summarize it pretty short, and then we can dissect a little bit more of today's conversation.
Yeah. Again, a lot of door knocking, not a whole lot of appointments set. I had existing policyholders that I met with. Like I said, Monday just was pretty much door knocking, didn't really have a whole lot of success. And then Tuesday, I had a 9 a.m. appointment set. Got into the apartment building, knocked on the lady's door, and she's talking through the door, won't answer, and she had an emergency, and that she couldn't meet with me. She had to hurry up and get to the hospital. So, I mean, I don't know if that was true or not, but call me to reschedule, and still haven't got anywhere with that one. So we all know how that goes. And then I had an existing policyholder appointment after that. I feel like it was just a guy that I hadn't seen in a while that just wanted to talk to me. Couldn't really do much for him. Yeah, couldn't really do a whole lot for him. Talked a little bit about adding coverage, but he had plenty, and just he was older. I don't think he could really afford much more. And then just did a little bit more door knocking, and then like 5 o'clock at night, I had an appointment. Now, one thing, Chris, I know you had an issue with some roll-up debt over the last few weeks, and that actually happened to me as well. I got hit with a pretty big roll-up debt with a carrier, and we had actually talked on Tuesday. And I prior to this appointment, I even told you I don't look at the debt. I do what's best for the client, and if that's the carrier that makes the most sense, that's who I'm going to write it with, and because that's not just going to go away. I mean, I got to do what I got to do what I can to clear that debt anyways. So this was two existing policy holders of mine, husband and wife. They've actually had insurance with me for about maybe 7 or 8 years. Like, I couldn't believe when I was there, I looked back at the application and was like, man, I can't believe like that was 7 or 8 years ago. I can't believe it's been that long since we've done anything or sat down. And they had like a $10,000 policy a piece that they took out like early 50s. So they weren't even really paying a whole lot. I think total between the two of them, they were paying like maybe $60 a month. And so I wasn't really expecting a whole lot, but same thing. You can't really go in with that sort of mindset. I do sometimes. And then I discover things that I'm actually able to do more. And so they had a universal life policy that they took out like 20 years ago. And I think that she'd been getting like notices in the mail about the premium going up because there wasn't enough cash value to continue to fund the policy. For those of you, like most of you probably understand like how universal life works, where it's almost like a combination of whole life and term. And that cash value is just kind of used to cover the premiums as time goes on. So that's what keeps the cost of the insurance down. But if interest rates are low, then sometimes there's not enough to be able to continue to fund that policy. It happened a lot like in the 80s, I believe, when
Mhm.
people took out those policies and interest rates were high and then they went way down. It made it difficult to be able to continue to fund those policies. But yeah, but anyways, so they had 100,000 apiece in universal life. That was, it looked like at some point was probably going to end up expiring. And I told him, I said, well, you know what, when you took that out, you probably needed 100,000. You were younger, there were more expenses. I said, now, I mean, outside of your funeral, yeah, there's going to be some other expenses. They like raised their grandson. I think he was like 7 or 8 years old. I said, so you still need more coverage if something happened to one of you or both of you. I mean, he's going to need help. So I quoted him like 25, 35, and 50,000. And I quoted them 25 and 35 with American Amicable, but then I quoted the 50,000 with the Baltimore Life because they have the one product. I always get the two mixed up, Chris. They have the I
Yeah.
provide and a priority or whatever.
Yeah. Hey, Baltimore Life. I don't understand the product names. Like this is one of the best products out there. The names are confusing. I provide is the final expense product, bread and butter, very liberal underwriting, great
Yeah.
compensation, quick pay. A priority is the 50,000 and above, participating whole life, still simplified issue, kind of more middle market product.
And that was the one that I wrote, was the a priority, because the rates, if people are healthy, the rates are really good. And I wrote them 50,000 a piece because 50,000 is the minimum face on that product at their age. So I wrote them 50,000 a piece. I mean, it ended up being like 3,600 in premium. So pretty cool. I mean, I rarely write big policies like that. So I mean, that's more than a lot of people write in the whole week, just right
Mhm.
there in that one house.
Yeah.
So,
Do you think
um,
sometimes people are afraid to show the bigger number or offer the bigger policy or think a little bit deeper into that realm of products that are available for 50,000 and above?
I think so. I really just kind of base it on the situation. I mean, the husband and wife, the husband, he's retired. The wife is still working. She's been in a job where she'll be retiring soon, and she's been there long enough that she'll have a pretty decent pension coming in. And so for me, it was more of a judgment call. I want to make sure they can keep up with it. I mean, because yeah, that's going to be I mean, heck, 3,600. That's $300 a month. That's a pretty hefty premium. They also have another policy with me that they're paying a total, like I said, of like $60 a month. So right there, I mean, $360 a month in life insurance premiums. So that's a lot, especially when people are, yeah, I mean, she's got a pension coming in, but I'd say they're still kind of limited fixed income. So, but anyways, yeah, wrote it with Baltimore Life, really not getting a whole lot of commission back from that because I owe them money. But again, it was the best situation, the best scenario for the client. And as I mentioned, that debt's not going to go away anyways. So, my goal will be to write business with them every week, give them some business until it's cleared up. And it's a good product anyways. I mean, I'll keep writing with them regardless. But
Let's dissect that for a minute because
yeah,
let's talk about, because we did the theme of today is lessons learned, what went right, what went wrong, and that's uncomfortable conversations to have. But there's a lot of agents out there, especially as this industry sort of pendulum swings back to a more congruent manner, who used to think I can just get the highest comp possible. I can expect nothing from anybody. I can do whatever I want. I can buy leads from wherever I want, compliant or non-compliant, and I'm just going to do me. And that mentality of just doing me gave that person, how much was it? $31,000 in a single
oh yeah,
carrier debt.
yep.
They
I
did
mean,
themselves all the way
unbelievable.
into the grave.
Yeah.
And, and there's like, I couldn't imagine thinking to myself, you know what? I'm going to open a funeral home. I'm going to open up a Chick-fil-A. I'm going to open up some type of franchise business, a restaurant. I'm going to do me. I'm going to do my marketing and my menu and my business, and I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. And I ain't going to ask anything from anybody else. And what would happen in that sense? That whole business would collapse as well. And we just witnessed it take place. So if you're
Yeah.
watching this and you're thinking that, or you're doing that, you're just creating that opportunity to fail, right?
Yeah. I think that, I mean, when you are running an agency and you're recruiting agents, you do want to make yourself out to be like the guy. You don't want to you don't want people to feel like you are just kind of like a, like a walk around or whatever. Like, like you want to be the guy. And I think that might have been his situation. Like he didn't want agents contacting anybody but him. Sometimes that can be an ego thing. But you got to know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, for one thing, how can you train other agents? If anybody who's piling that kind of debt really has no business building an agency,
No.
because they obviously don't know what they're doing. And I think that, yeah, I just think that sometimes people maybe need to drop the ego and say, hey, these guys are here. They're willing to help. Maybe I need to plug into what they're doing. And I think that could have made a difference with the whole situation, but they just, wanted to do their own thing. You got us the contracts. That's all we need. And you know what? I mean, and the debt was there. It's my fault too. I
Mhm.
mean, I saw the debt piling up, and it's
Same here.
kind of like, it's kind of like, I remember back when I was younger, I had a girlfriend that, things went well at the beginning, and then you start to have like suspicion that stuff's going on behind the scenes. Like, this girl, I know she was like cheating on me, and I knew that was going on, but in the back of your mind, you want to tell yourself that that's not really going on. That really, I don't think that's really going on, because it's like, something's happening, but you don't want to feel like anything is, because you try to want to still figure out a way to make it work. And that was kind of the situation, I think, with the agent. It was like, I I don't know. I'm still not suspicious of like fraudulent stuff going on, but like the debt wasn't going away. It's like,
No.
I kind of felt like the debt's going to get better. At one point he owed like 5,000, and then it was up to 8,000. And then I'm still freaking out. And he's like, don't worry about it. I got it under control. I'll handle it. You don't got to worry about this. And then,
Yeah.
and then we're up to 16,000. And
It just snowballs. That
yeah,
just gets so bad. And we had that conversation, and people are afraid to have conversations because everyone wants to be the man, but nobody's the man. Like even these guys we're going to have on that have sold their businesses for 7-figure deals, none of them have the hubris for them to say, I'm the man. They've collaborated, they've worked together, they've grown, they've made mistakes. I've said, the next time this happens, because it all happens, there's nothing new under the sun, and we get an agent that gets to 5, gets to 7, gets to 8,000, show's over. I'm sorry. Like before it gets that bad,
it's never going to get anywhere near that ever again, Chris.
no.
Like,
And
I mean, that's like a lesson learned. And those are things we can talk about, but yeah, I mean, I'm never going to let it get anywhere near that. I mean, 2,000, 3,000, that's it.
all right.
I'm cutting it off. Like
Yeah.
that's it. You're not going to screw me for any more than that.
Yeah, and I had we had one of our guys, Josh Lowe, watching a while back. Josh, thanks for watching. If you're still on, feel free to drop a comment if you have some thoughts on this issue. He had a friend of his roll $11,000 in debt in just Lumenco. And part of the problem when you're building an agency, and hopefully somebody listening that wants to kind of follow that same trajectory takes this word of advice, is you want to offer every carrier to your agents. You want to be that man, right? You want to have the big name brands, the middle market carriers, the small mom and pops. You want your people to come to you for everything. But guess what ends up happening? Agents begin to hide their debt in that second tier of carriers because they built up debt with their primary companies. I got 3,000 with SPLI. I owe Foresters 1,000, Omaha 4. I know what? I got Lumenco. I'm going to write them. And it just snowballs, or it snowballs into a carrier area you're not used to checking. Like American Home Life. They don't write it very often. How do they hide debt there? Oops. It's like they begin to hide debt in places like a baby pooping in corners of the house so you don't see it. Like that kind of stuff happens. And we have to protect ourselves from that and realize you don't need 20 carriers on 9-month advances on everybody. like being strategic and protecting the house so that somebody isn't pooping in the corner and not telling you about it.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I don't know. You had the same situation. It's mind boggling to me because I've been doing this for so long. I've never put myself in any sort of situation like that to be in debt anywhere near that much,
Not even close.
like on my own pen. Um, I think probably the most I've ever owed at one time was maybe like 2 or 3 thousand. That was it. Like, and that was enough for me. So, I mean, I don't know how the heck anybody could pile up that sort of debt if you're doing stuff the way that you're supposed to be doing it. I don't know.
Yeah. So let's talk about that because we're talking about what worked and what didn't, where you're at and where you want to be. What's the kind of stuff in your business this year that's worked really, really well? Because for this year, you've been on leads every single week. This year, you've probably spent tens of thousands of dollars on leads and appointments and the infrastructure of your marketing. What's went good for your business this year?
Well, that's it. It's the consistency of every week doing the same thing, week in and week out. Having the set days that I'm going out in the field. I mean, my family, they know I'm not going to be around much. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, pretty much all day I'm out in the field. I mean, heck, Tuesday night I left my house at 8 in the morning, didn't get home till like 9:30 at night. Sometimes that happens, but you got to do what you got to do. But like I said, so I think having a good supporting cast too helps for them to just kind of know that that's just how it's going to be. Got a lot on my plate, so I got to get out there and work. But yeah, like I said, I think it's just the main thing of being consistent with just having the new leads every single week. You taking care of placing the lead orders for me. I mean, that's taking a little bit off my plate, so that helps. But yeah, just having that steady flow of leads on a regular basis and having the appointment setters, having the set schedule, knowing the days that I'm going to be working. And that's pretty much it. Rinse and repeat. You've always said when you do stuff the same way week in and week out, your numbers are going to kind of show that.
Mhm.
And I would say my numbers have been pretty consistent throughout the year. There have been a couple weeks that aren't as good as the others, but there's also been weeks that are way better than the others. But in the end, it just kind of all evens itself out. And I would say
It
probably
does.
on average, if you ran my numbers, Chris, I would say I probably average 4 to 5 thousand a week. That's about, I think, probably where I'm at. And that's just working 3 days for the most part in the field every week.
Yeah, and that's like 2 to 25 or 2,000, 250,000 in production on a 4 to 5K average, which is, top tier of the industry. When you throw in some good persistency, consistent investment, like what happens if there's an agent watching this content and then thinking to themselves, I'd love to be more consistent. What is like a practical thing that they can do, even if they're not a part of our agency, they're just a part of the industry to get more consistent in their business as they enter 2025?
I just think probably being disciplined with their time and with their money and always setting money aside for future lead orders. You can't get a big old commission coming in and turn around and spend all your money and pay all your other bills. I mean, you gotta recycle and go, rinse and repeat, and you got to be able to place those lead orders every week. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest mistakes agents make is they place one lead order, they wait for those leads to come in, and then they go work them, and then they're placing their next lead order. Well, what are you doing for the next 3 weeks while you're waiting for your other
Hmm.
direct mail to come in?
Yeah.
There's time there that you need to find some things to do. But yeah, I think just being disciplined with your time, like I said, setting a schedule and sticking to it, and if you're working, like I said, if you're working with like the appointment setters, or if you're setting your own appointments, you can't just go out when you have an appointment.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I have my set hours. I leave my house 8 in the morning. Like I said, sometimes I'm not even home until 9 o'clock at night, those 3 days that I'm working. But uh, I think I usually set my last appointment for 6 o'clock at night. Sometimes, go a little bit over than that. The other day I had my 5 o'clock where I wrote the 3,600. I didn't get to my 6 o'clock appointment until like after 7 o'clock. So that's why I didn't get home until 9:30. But again, it's just a matter of being consistent and being disciplined. And like, if I don't have an appointment set at 9 in the morning, well, what helps me now is I take my boy to school. I take him to school. He's got to be there by 8:30. So I'm up and out and dropping him off, and I'm ready to go for the day. So I'm already out. If I don't have appointments set, well, I got plenty of leads to work. And when you're placing those lead orders every single week, you are building up an inventory of leads.
Mhm.
I mean, right now,
Hundreds and
Chris,
thousands of
yeah,
leads.
right now I can go on my iPad and I can look at my active leads. I have like this active leads folder,
That's cool.
and right there, of course, it's not scrolling now when I needed. I got over 1,700 leads.
Mhm.
Uh, but you know what? Some of those are even like existing policyholders. Like I set up like not of course not all my policyholders, but I would say like the last policyholders from like the last few years that I wrote, I have them in there. But majority of that is just direct mail leads. Maybe 10% of it is Facebook leads. It's just
Mhm.
a huge inventory. I mean, again, 20 to 30 leads every week. If you do the math on that over,
Thousands.
over a year, that's a lot of leads. So, but not all those leads get dispositioned. I mean, if you never catch up with the people, I mean, there's leads that you sent me that were 3 years old. Last week or the week before,
Yeah.
and
Kankakee.
I've written 2 or 3 apps off them so far, I think. So, I mean, right there, I mean, we're talking about leads of people that, and what's funny, Chris, is, I think maybe 2 so far, but of the ones, the ones that I wrote, the one had already taken out a policy like at the time they took that. Actually, both of them had taken out policies around that time. And I was still able to write additional coverage now. So,
Yeah, but
but
that's because in every set of aged leads that you buy, you can freaking guarantee yourself that there's buyers. Like you are buying buyers if
yeah,
you buy enough of them. Now, buying 20 from 20 years ago isn't going to do anything, but you got to have that mindset because so many people have this awful aged lead mindset. Oh man, this lead's old. It's a waste.
yep.
No, there's buyers in there. I
But you know what?
guarantee
That's
you.
also the importance of keeping up with your clients.
Oh, yeah.
Because if those agents that wrote that business initially were keeping up with their clients, it would not have allowed me to go in there and write new business. They would have said, I already have my agent. They
Hmm.
help me. They work with me. Sorry. And that's what I hope my clients do. Like, I can't stand when I show up at a client's house and they pull out their policies and they're showing me other policies that they recently took out that aren't mine.
You cheating
Um,
on me, Miss Johnson?
yeah, yeah. If anything, I feel
Where
like
you get this
I didn't
from?
do. Yeah, if anything, I feel like I'm not doing my job
Yeah.
because I shouldn't allow that. I need to be doing enough for my clients for them to realize I'm their insurance guy now. Like, don't be
Yeah.
calling anybody else. I'm the guy.
That's why we're
So
in the process of moving to the modern era of marketing and with a CRM that can send out drip campaigns at the year, the birthday, the Christmas, the whatever mark you tag and create that level of engagement. And a computer's not going to do your job for you, but it's going to help you in areas your brain just doesn't have the room to fit. I did something this week. I'm doing something next week with the appointment team that I would encourage other people to do, even do it themselves, is I just sent them every lead in that area that I hadn't dispositioned this year. And I said, I don't care if they told you no before. I don't care if you called and they told you no before. Call them again. Call them one more time, once time through, and let's squeeze these leads one more time. See what else you can like squeeze out of them in addition to my current leads. Like I had a little bit of some leads in that area plus all the other ones, and we just squeezed the hell out of that inventory one more time to get me in front of people to write business. And guess what? Doing the same thing next week. I don't have enough leads for next week. I've had to piece together, direct mail, digital, aged, fresh Facebook leads. I spent $1,000 on insurance toolkit leads because I needed people to see next week. And I said to the team, call all these people that we already called before. Call them once more. Let's beat these leads into oblivion because this is the last week. This is it. This is that last chance mentality. This is that dig deeper opportunity. This is the chance that even if we just get one more appointment off of these leads from 6 months ago, it'll be worth it. So my practical advice to you as we get close in the next 10 to 12 minutes to wrapping up today's conversation is go back into the leads that you had over the course of the last year and the area you're working next week. Hopefully you're working next week. 3 weeks off, disastrous. Don't do that. In the area you're working next week, find every other single lead you've had in the last 12 months and call them again. Organize them, door knock them, put them in a CSV, blast text them if you can do so compliantly. Just dig through them one more time, because I'm sending the team every lead I've had in that area for next week, Adam. And I said, just call them again, power dial them through Kixie, squeeze one more drop or one more appointment out of these leads, and I'll feel good about it. And that's the power of outsourcing and working with others that can help grow your business.
Oh yeah. And like I said, I mean, I know, I think you use the iPad now for your leads too, still, right?
Absolutely.
And what I like about it, if you set it up the right way, like I make sure, like I put my leads through Adobe first to make sure that the text on them is searchable. And as long as it's searchable, then it works. In the app that I use called Good Notes, what's cool is like yesterday, I had what, an 11:30 appointment and nothing really to do before then. I didn't have really any new leads that were in that area, but I can search right on my iPad. I can search for like the zip code, and then it'll show me just based on that zip code, like all the leads that I have in one area. Like yesterday, I searched a zip code, and the zip code I searched, I had like over 340 leads, like
Whew.
just in this one zip.
Was that like Chicago Heights or?
It was, yeah,
Oh, yeah. I see
yeah.
that a lot.
Yeah, I know you see that a lot. Yeah, that zip code's actually like 3 different towns. It's like Chicago Heights, Sauk Village, and
Hmm.
Linwood, and even South Chicago Heights. So yeah,
Yep.
it's a real big zip, but that's why I like it, because it's all like within that one area. And but yeah, what I did, I searched. I knew that there was like a senior apartment complex that was like right down the street from where my appointment was going to be at. And I figured, heck, I don't have a whole lot of time to kill, so how about I do that? I'll just I think I had like maybe 5 or 6 leads in that one building. I figured that way, heck, if I get in that building right there, I can knock out these 5 or 6 leads that have yet to be dispositioned. And so, yeah, that's what I did. I ended up, and it was so funny. I went to the dial thing, and I'm trying to find this lady's name on the like the big apartment complex, and I can't find her name scrolling through the thing. And someone opens the door for me, and she's like, "Who you here to see?" And I'm like, I forget her name. I'm here to see Kathy Johnson. She's like, "Oh, that's me." I'm like, what are the
Oh,
chances of that? Like this big old senior high rise where there's probably 300 residents, and the lady that I'm there to see just happens to be the one that opens the door and lets me in. So
it's more often than not. I swear. Like
yeah,
they're like in front of their house, like it's part of a game. Like I'm gonna see if they're gonna see me. I'm out front, but I'm not myself. I'm my sister. Like just they're right in front more often than we think.
yeah. So yeah, there I unfortunately I really wasn't able to get anything accomplished yet. She was having trouble with finding her bank information. And then see, I sat and talked to her like down in like this little meeting room. And then yeah, and she had some health issues. I was actually writing her Baltimore Life, and they approved her standard. And she was going, and she's like, "Well, I gotta see if I can find my bank information." She had to go up to her room, and she came back down, and she was like, "I called my son, and he said that he doesn't think I should do anything yet. That he need maybe give me a call Saturday, and we can get together when he's around." And I don't know, I couldn't get anywhere with her after that.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
but then
that's
I
gonna be
talked
his
about 2 or
funeral the
3
day
other
away.
people. Yeah, I talked about 2 or 3 other people that were just kind of hanging around the building. And another one I'll probably be going back and writing. She just wasn't ready yet. She was a direct express that I was going to be writing her with Transamerica. But yeah, promising things that had I not just went through my iPad and searched for like this little apartment complex, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere with anybody before that first appointment yesterday. So, but that's what I like about it. Like when I was just printing my leads out, I was not the most organized, and I mean, my leads would be all over the place, and they were really in no specific order. If anything, I just had them separated into like two sections, AM and night and weekend,
Hmm.
and that was pretty much it. You try 3 or 4 times during the day, you can't catch the person. Well, then you throw it into your PM spot, and then that way you know who you can try to catch up with in the evening time. But that was it. Trying to sort through 1,700 leads to pull out the ones that I would need,
Never,
it's
never gonna find it.
impossible. But with
Yeah.
the iPad, I mean, it's just so convenient to be able to just search them. And yeah, I show people the lead right on the iPad, and people are fine with it. So yeah, I definitely, that's something, if you're out there door knocking, I would definitely recommend doing that. I use the one called Good Notes. Chris uses Notability. They both pretty much have all the same capabilities, but
Another thing that I
it
do,
definitely
I don't,
helps.
because I always feel like I forget a scope of appointment or something that I should have had. Um, I've had this thing, and I don't know if it's like something I'm teaching or testing, or I do it. I have them sign the lead at the end of the appointment, and I say, Adam, I just need your signature here on the form you filled out just to say that I was here for the appointment today. And in my head, it's providing a little bit of additional validity and quality to what we wrote, because so much of what we write right now is click through, or it lost the tangible nature of signing a physical application. I in many cases want them to sign their name to something so it's real to them. Do you find that kind of as we get close to wrapping up today's conversation, as we got into the e-application era, maybe the business seemed a little less real to the person than it would have on a piece of paper?
Yeah, another thing you can do, and I've done it, is a lot of people think that these plans are like through the state. Like the way that the direct mail lead, the way it looks, they just think it's some sort of government program or whatever. um I don't act as though I work for the state or anything. I tell them that I'm licensed through the state, and a lot of times when I work the direct mail leads, I have like a little badge thing that I put together with my picture on it, and it just says like benefits coordinator, state of Illinois, and I have my license number on there. Because at least, I don't know, maybe some areas are different than others, but it seems like the areas that I work, people are more and more skeptical, and they think that there's a lot of scammers out there. So maybe it's just something that makes me feel more comfortable.
Yeah,
Um,
mindset.
so, but with that, I even, when I go through my presentation, I mentioned that, it's a state approved plan, and it's my job to just kind of go through the best available options. I think that's good verbiage to use. But if they tell me that they don't want to move forward with anything, in the past, like I tell them, like, or if they say, I think I want to do it, but I'm just not ready yet. And I'll tell them, well, we're only allowed one visit. I mean, I have to be able to help you today. And if we can't do it today, then I'm going to need you to sign this so they know that I at least came by. And I'll make like two like I'll make like two spots where they can put like a check mark, like accepted or declined offer, with like
Hmm.
their name, and I'll even put like the amount of coverage that they maybe declined. And sometimes they look at it and they're like, "Really, you can't come back?" I'm like, "No, I'm only allowed one visit."
Without.
Okay. They say, "Well, all right, well then I guess we should just move forward with it then."
I've done that
So
at the door before. I've had somebody else come to the door, like a guy instead of the girl. Well, she's not coming to the door. That's fine, but I have to have her sign that she declined the appointment that she booked on the form that she filled out about her benefits. Okay, let me go get her. And then they go and get her, and then I have my door approach, then I get into the appointment.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
you made an appointment, you filled out a literal form. I'm licensed, I'm here going over this information. If you don't want it, I have to be able to prove that you didn't want it.
Yeah, and that's like I said, when you kind of take that lead card out too, like that, sometimes it gets them thinking a little bit, and sometimes they'll just sign it. Yeah, they decline the offer. Okay, fine.
Okay, good.
But yeah, sometimes when they just visually, or it gives them a chance to maybe think a little bit further, and they start to think about how they know they need it, and it is a good plan. This guy can't come back, so I better just get this done.
Yeah.
So
It's like the takeaway clothes. I've gotten up from plenty of appointments, started putting my stuff away. They're like, well, wait a second. I actually want this. I misunderstood. You actually want this. All right, good.
So
So,
just a few other things before we close up, Chris. Yeah, my Tuesday, I was talking about where I wrote the 3600 of the Baltimore Life. Earlier that day, you had sent a message in our group me. So for those of you who are not with us, our agency, we have like an agency group me where we, I love it. We all kind of collaborate amongst one another. We share ideas. Chris and I are both out in the field. Sometimes people might have questions, and maybe it's something that one of our other agents is able to answer. People are just willing to help,
mhm.
and it helps us out too, I think, Chris. But you posted something in there about how last year, and I did it too last year. You sent out like a text to all of your clients about a
Mhm.
referral bonus, and do you need a little? Do you know anybody who could use coverage? Because we have like a referral bonus going on right now, and I sent that out to a bunch of people, and I had one client that she said, yeah, come on over tonight. That was actually my 6 o'clock appointment that night. She said, come on over tonight, and I'll have some people for you to talk to. And I said, all right. And so I ran to Walmart. I picked up some gift cards, and that was it. And then she actually gave me like 20 referrals.
Wow.
So
That's a week
I
worth
yeah,
of
I got
referral.
a yeah, I have a whole bunch of people today that I have the names. One thing that I did because it was late, and I usually tell people to call their friends while I'm there. Call them while I'm here. That way you can introduce me to them because they're going to talk to you before they're going to pick up the phone to you before they're going to pick it up to me. But because it was late, it was probably like 9 o'clock at night at that point. I said, look how about we do this? How about you record a little voice message on my phone? And then I'll just text that to all your friends. And so that's what I'm going to do. We'll see how it works.
Hey,
Basically, it's just going to be like a little
creative.
voice message in a text of her saying, you need to talk to Adam. He helped me a lot. And, you really need to take some time to sit down with him to see what he can do for you too. And then I'll put like a little text after that to see what a good time would be to get together. And then I'll try calling the people too.
There you
But
go.
again, it's just a matter of doing whatever you can to try to get in front of people these days. And if they're not going to answer their phone, I mean, heck, I'll even get on what's that called, Fast People Search or something.
Mhm.
I'll even get on there. I'll search the people's phone numbers and their names, and I'll see if I can find their addresses. And I mean, their referrals, I don't care. I'll drop in on them. Your friend, your friend Linda wanted me to come by to see you and see what happens. And maybe I'll talk to Erin. She seems to be the referral expert. So maybe I'll
Yeah.
talk to her and see what she does on referrals and what she does to get in front of the people.
Yeah, I think it's important too to remember that this time of year, maybe it is a little bit harder. Maybe it's all in your head, but maybe you do need to dig deeper to find the amount of premium necessary to hit your goal and to end the year in an uncompromised manner. Like I opened up today's conversation thinking, how sad would it be if somebody worked all year, spent all the money, spent all the time, spent all the emotional capital to end the year on like an hot fart? Like, how sad would that be? And don't do that to yourself. Like, really put this effort in. Even if next week is your last week, perfectly fine. Put an all in effort so that you can say to yourself, man, I ended this year as hard as I could put into it. And that's the way I'm approaching it. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah. I said on our morning call, I think a few days ago, I'm not really taking off a whole lot of time around Christmas uh, because, like you mentioned earlier on our training this morning, Chris, last Thanksgiving, I mean, we always have a big Thanksgiving. We have a lot of people here. I usually have to spend some time getting the house put together, cleaning out the basement and stuff, and just making more room for people. And yeah, last year, I mean, I took off a few days, I think prior to Thanksgiving. And then, uh, yeah, I feel like I barely worked that week prior to Thanksgiving. And then probably didn't go back until the following Tuesday, back out in the field. So it was about a good close to probably 8 or 9 days, I bet, where I just wasn't really doing a whole lot. And then getting back out there, I don't know. It was one of those weeks that I think it was probably the last time I had a week where I didn't write anything. And I
Mm,
just like, that was a week I totally struck out. Like, and that rarely happens. Like I said, I mean, I think that was probably the last time over a year ago. I mean, every week I at least write something. But yeah, this year I said, I don't want the same sort of thing to happen. I don't want to take off too much time, especially if I'm like on a hot streak and be again pretty consistent with writing business lately on average, 4 or 5 thousand a week. I don't want to lose that momentum, and then it's like you're just kind of starting over again and
hmm.
having to try to rebuild that momentum up.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not really taking a whole lot of time off. I think what Christmas Eve is on a Tuesday
Mhm.
and Christmas Day is on a Wednesday. So I'm going to go out on that Monday and work, which would be what, the 23rd. And then I'm going to go out. I probably won't work the day after Christmas, but I'll go out on Friday. So my plan, actually, I told our appointment setters to try to set me up Monday, Friday, and Saturday that week.
Yeah. And the crazy part too is like Christmas for us is actually the 26th for them anyway. So it's not even asking them to dial on Christmas if you did. Not that we would,
Yeah.
but like to them, it's a different day. So they're going to work, they got a job to do and money to make, and they're going to put you in the field. And if you need that little push to push yourself into the field on a day you might not work, appointments is a great way to do it. And I can't think of a worse thing someone can do to their business if they're in a tenuous position in their business or finally getting ahead than to take an extended period of time off. You're basically committing final expense euthanasia at that point. So even if you see people around you taking time off, be honest with yourself and say, I need to keep working. And there's no shame in that. I've worked the first of the year before, wrote business on the first. There'll be people home on the first. Go out and do your job if you need to do it, and we'll be here to support you. Don't forget, we are recording several interviews with several really successful people in the business, integrity partners, people that have gone from the kitchen table to the private equity table, solid producers, regular people, myself, Adam. We're going to put together 6, 7, 8 different individual episodes, podcasts, trainings, call them whatever you want, and schedule them to be posted throughout the course of Christmas break. So if you're used to listening to us at 9 a.m., you may not be able to listen, but you can watch or listen. We'll be there. We may not be there live, but we'll be there for you. And this is a kind of Christmas present stuffed full of content and training and conversation that will help you stay on course, stay in routine, and stay making money even during the rest of the Christmas holiday. So stay tuned, stay subscribed, and comment. You'll be able to see that coming in the next couple of days. Thanks for
Sounds
watching.
good. Thanks, guys.